The hum of the Chronos Initiative Labs was a constant companion, a vibrating reassurance woven into Elias Thorne's very bones. It used to be a comforting sound, a testament to the progress they were making, the secrets they were unlocking. Now, it felt like the drone of a faulty machine, a warning signal he couldn't quite decipher. He traced the etched lines of the temporal regulator on his wrist, a legacy of his father's ambition, a conduit for energies he barely comprehended. Synchronization is at 78%. Lyra's voice, cool and precise, cut through the ambient noise. She didn't turn from the Nexus, the colossal apparatus dominating the lab's central chamber. Her presence remained otherworldly. Physically intangible, she moved with a grace that defied earthly physics, a being out of time and space. Elias raised a glance at his father, Elias Thorne. The older man's face was illuminated by the Nexus's blue glow, his expression a mask of intense concentration. Elias, the architect of this ambition, oblivious, it seemed, to the unraveling thread of his son's sanity. He remembered fragments of conversations with his father, a father who lauded scientific advancement above all else, a man who saw him not as a son, but as a valuable asset in his grand design. Increased temporal distortion registered in sector gamma, Lyra reported, her voice unwavering. Minor adjustments required. He tried to focus on the task at hand, on the intricate sequence of calculations, the precise calibrations, but the memories they flickered like dying embers, threatening to extinguish his sense of self. Who was he? Elias Thorne, a mighty graduate reluctantly conscripted into his father's operation, or something else? He stared at the photograph on Eris's desk. A woman's face, blurred and softened by time, but undeniably beautiful. Elena. He felt a pang of recognition, a ghost of a memory that refused to coalesce. He knew her. He should know her. But the knowledge remained elusive, tantalizingly out of reach. Elias. Lyra's voice was gentle, a rare departure from her usual clinical tone. Your resonance is fluctuating. He clenched his jaw, forcing the swirling memories back into the recesses of his mind. He felt them pushing, straining against the walls of his consciousness, threatening to break free. Just a minor anomaly, he mumbled, attempting a reassuring tone he didn't feel. The Nexus pulsed, bathing the lab in an even more intense blue light. A wave of dizziness washed over Elias, a visceral reminder of the forces he was manipulating. The images intensified, fleeting visions of a war-torn landscape, of towering machines and skies choked with smoke. A war that hadn't happened yet, but felt intimately familiar. Synchronization complete, Lyra announced. Initiating corrective protocols. The air crackled with energy. Elias felt a strange detachment, as if he were watching himself from a distance. He saw his hands move, following Lyra's instructions, manipulating the controls with a precision he didn't know he possessed. But behind his actions, a silent scream echoed in his mind, a desperate plea for release from the ever-tightening grip of temporal energies. He noticed a small device resting on a nearby workbench, a gleaming silver sphere pulsating with a soft inner light. The temporal anchor, Lyra had called it. A gift, a tool. She had explained that it would allow him to navigate the turbulent currents of time, to anchor himself to a fixed point. But he didn't understand its full potential, its purpose. Elias, focus, Lyra instructed, her voice sharp of his time. The anomaly is destabilizing. He fought to regain his control, to ground himself in the present. But the visions persisted, growing more vivid, more insistent. He saw a battlefield, a desperate struggle for survival. He saw himself, not as the hesitant scientist he was now, but as a hardened soldier, a warrior. He saw Elena, standing beside him, her eyes filled with a fierce determination. The reading's unexpected, Eris said, his voice laced with a hint of concern. The temporal signature's evolving. Elias felt a surge of defiance, a spark of the warrior he was becoming. He looked at his father, seeing him now with a clarity he hadn't possessed before. He saw the relentless ambition, the disregard for consequences. He saw the man who had unknowingly condemned him to a life adrift in time. "What's happening to me?" he asked, his voice rough with emotion. Lyra hesitated, her expression unreadable. "The Nexus is drawing on your innate temporal resilience. It's adapting you." "Adapting me to what?" "To the future," she replied, her voice devoid of sentiment. "A future that desperately needs you." Suddenly, a jarring, distorted voice echoed within Elias's mind, cold and predatory. "The experiment is proceeding as planned. The subset is responding favorably." The voice wasn't Lyra's, and it certainly wasn't his father's. It was an external intrusion, a chilling communication from somewhere else. Elias recoiled, clutching his head. He felt a wave of nausea, a sense of being violated. He realized with a terrifying certainty that he was not in control. He was a pawn in a game far larger, far more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. "Father," he began, his voice trembling, "there's someone else communicating with me." Eris turned, his expression finally registering a flicker of unease. "What are you talking about, Elias?" Before Elias could answer, the laboratory doors slammed shut with a resounding clang. The lights flickered, plunging the room into near darkness. A low, guttural growl reverberated through the air, and a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, its form indistinct, its intent unmistakably hostile. "You have interfered with forces beyond your comprehension," the figure asked, its voice dripping with menace. "Now you will pay the price." Elias stared at the figure, his mind reeling. He was trapped, caught between the ambitions of his father, the guidance of an alien being, and the machinations of a hidden enemy. He was a prisoner of time, adrift in a storm of temporal energies, destined to fight a war he didn't understand. Lyra stepped forward, her intangible form shimmering with an otherworldly light. "You cannot threaten him," she warned, her voice laced with an unexpected firmness. The figure laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the darkened laboratory. "You think you can protect him? You are merely a temporary obstacle." With a swift, fluid motion, the figure lunged towards Elias, its hand outstretched, but before it could make contact, Lyra intervened, creating a shimmering barrier of energy. The two forces collided, sending shockwaves that rattled the laboratory. Elias, still reeling from the temporal distortion, stumbled backwards, clutching the temporal anchor. He looked at the device, realizing that it was his only hope. He activated it, focusing his intent, desperately trying to anchor himself to a stable point in time. As the laboratory dissolved around him, he saw a fleeting image of Elena, her eyes filled with a silent plea. "Remember me, she seemed to whisper. Then everything went black. The temporal currents surged around him, tossing him violently through the vortex of time. He felt himself hurtling towards an unknown destination, his mind a jumble of fragmented memories and unresolved conflicts. He opened his eyes to the harsh glare of a desert sun. He lay on the sand, disoriented and weak. The Chronos Initiative Labs were gone, replaced by a landscape of towering mesas and wind-sculpted rock formations. He was in a different time, a different place, a future he couldn't comprehend. He looked down at his hands, noticing that they were different. Stronger, calloused, marked with scars he didn't remember acquiring. He was no longer the hesitant scientist he had been. He was a soldier, a warrior, a man forged in the crucible of time. He stood up, brushing the sand from his clothes. He looked towards the horizon, bracing himself for the challenges that lay ahead. He knew that he had a destiny to fulfill, a war to fight, a woman to remember. He activated the temporal anchor, focusing his intent. He had to find Elena. He had to discover the truth about his past. He had to unravel the mystery of the future. But as he gazed out across the vast expanse of the desert, a single, chilling thought echoed in his mind. He was not alone. In the distance, he saw figures standing on a mesa, silhouetted against the setting sun. A figure wearing a familiar uniform. A figure holding a weapon. The figure raised its hand in a silent salute, and Elias knew, with a sinking feeling, that the war had only just begun.